כותב פועם, אני נולד מחדש, את החיים שואף לריאותיי. אצלי בראש אני במלחמה, את נשמתי המנגינה נושאת על כנפיה.
הלילה שוב יורד בדירה קטנה, זה רק אני עם הפחדים ולא נרדמת. לא רוצה ליפול לתוך הרחמים, אני יפה לא שקופה, אני קיימת מאושרת.
ואיתכם הדרך ארוכה, יש בי אמונה אל הלא נודע בחיי. ואיתכם יפים הם הלילות, עיניים עצומות, וטוב לי בימיי. רוח מן הים לוחשת לי לבוא, להתגבר על הבושה, על הצלקת. את המראות והריחות נושא גם בשבילך, היא שקטה, הכל בסדר, את משוחררת. ואיתכם הדרך ארוכה, יש בי אמונה אל הלא נודע בחיי. ואיתכם יפים הם הלילות, עיניים עצומות, וטוב לי בימיי. נתתי מבלי לבקש שום דבר, שברתי תקרות מזכוכית וחמה, לחמתי נשבעתי כואב ומושפל, זעקתי לבד אף אחד לא עזר. עכשיו אני כאן, אין לי מה להפסיד, פותח הכל, אין לי מה להסתיר, מביט אל האור שמקיף אותי ובכל מה שיש בי. ואיתכם הדרך ארוכה, יש בי אמונה אל הלא נודע בחיי. ואיתכם יפים הם הלילות, עיניים עצומות, וטוב לי בימיי. וטוב לי בימיי. וטוב לי בימיי.
So good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Boaz. I'm the COO of Restart. I'd like to share a personal reflection on the impact we aim for. In the video we've just seen, a song written and crafted by Restart and singer and actor Tzachi Halevi speaks volume about the resilience and strength found in our wounded veterans. Restart's purpose is to get our wounded heroes back on the path of life, and we need your help. Towards the end of this event, we'll have a Q&A session, so please feel free to share questions throughout the presentation using the designated button below, and we'll get to as many of you as we can. Before I move on, our slides have a QR code that goes directly to our donation page as well as an email for donations over $5,000. We appreciate any support you can give. So I'd like to start by sharing my own story. As I mentioned, my name is Boaz. I was born in Jerusalem in 1992, and I joined the IDF Tank Corps in 2011, serving in the IDF's 7th Brigade. Quickly rising to tank commander, I participated in many missions, including the nightly rescue of wounded civilians from Syrian civil war into Israeli hospitals to receive treatment. And from my post up north, we were called down to Gaza for Operation Protective Edge. On July 21st, 2014, after a few days of intense battle, my unit was ambushed during an attack on a Hamas compound. A 120 millimeter mortar hit my tank, and I was thrown out and onto the turret. I came to a few minutes later. My arms felt like they were on fire, and I raised my hands, and I look at my left, and I see my pinky somewhere down here. And I look at my right, and I'm looking straight into the inside of my elbow. I had almost a complete amputation. I lost my thumb. And after 3.5 hours of evacuation under fire to Tel HaShomer Hospital, I was put into life-saving surgery. And I woke up a few hours later. I saw my parents by my bedside, and I asked my father, "Do I have an arm?" And he said, "Sort of." I said, "Am I disabled?" He said, "Probably." I asked him, "Are my soldiers okay?" And he said, "Yes, they're fine. They're still fighting in Gaza under a different commander." I said, "Great." And I finally went to sleep. I woke up many hours later to the reality of a wounded veteran, a disabled person. I had strangers wiping me in the bathroom, having to help me shower, eat, scratch. I had PTSD. I was dealing with guilt and hopelessness and pain and confusion and uncertainty. And it was this incredible community of fellow wounded veterans and the amazingly warm embrace that we received from the Israeli and Jewish public that made it possible to conquer the initial recovery. But then, as life happens, most of the volunteers and amazing people embracing us started going back to their personal lives. And some of them wanted to do, if anything, something more meaningful. And we wounded veterans started going home from the rehabilitation centers. Home where there were no masses of people coming to visit. There was no excitement going on to help you forget. And there were no comrades who know exactly what you're going through, even without talking. It is the culmination of wounded veterans concerned about the day after rehabilitation and highly skilled volunteers that want to give from their skill set that set the grounds for Restart. Restart began with small initiatives like workshops in the rehabilitation center. And today it stands as a driving force in reintegrating wounded IDF veterans into society. What started as lectures and meetups over pizza and beer have become a powerhouse, empowering wounded veterans to thrive in society, albeit still over pizza and beer. So what is Restart? Let me show you.
We can tell you about the struggles wounded IDF soldiers and their families deal with every single day, just trying to live a normal life. We can show you clips packed with explosions and the haunting sounds and sights of warfare to try to help you understand what goes on in an injured soldier's head years after the injury. We can make you cry as you watch all the broken dreams and shattered goals they will never achieve. We can do a lot of things. IDF wounded soldiers, not so much.
עמותת ריסטארט פועלת בדיוק בעניין הזה.
Instead, we're focused on helping them get back on track, rebuild their career, recreate their sense of capability, rewrite their story, rejoin society as equals. Restart.
So that video provides a glimpse into our programs. Restart operates through two primary branches. Our personal and career development branch hosts our exclusive mentors program where wounded veterans are paired with executives for a transformative 6-month journey. And the career program equips veterans with essential tools for successful job hunting. Additionally, TED Talk coaches guide our storytelling program, enabling veterans to share their stories and providing them with a way to build the public speaking skills they will need in their careers. It also provides them a source of income as motivational speakers. Restart Makers for Heroes has developed 127 tailored solutions in our technology branch, partnering with industry leaders like Elbit and Rafael in charge of our Iron Dome and many other military achievements, AppsFlyer, Wix, Stratasys, global brands helping Israel, and Mossad, Shabak, Unit 81 from the Army, all dedicating their technology units to helping wounded veterans. These solutions have brought life-changing moments for our veterans, like the Yosef glove for finger disabilities that helped Yosef play guitar in the video we saw with Tzachi Alevi earlier. And Inbal, pictured here in the video, a paraplegic who felt such a significant impact after we created her surfboard that she ordered more boards from us and opened up her own organization, Waveability, making the sea accessible for children and everyone with disabilities. But since Shabbat, October 7th, when Hamas viciously attacked Israel, committing heinous crimes against humanity, everything changed. We were already seeing hundreds, and we expect thousands of wounded soldiers in body, mind, and soul. Before we continue and discuss how Restart is helping these wounded warriors, I'd like to invite Mr. Naftali Granot to give us an inside look at the current situation. Mr. Granot is the former deputy director of Mossad, and as such, he has a unique perspective on what we can expect in the future. And Naftali, thank you for joining us today.
So hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Naftali Granot. I'm the retired deputy director of the Israeli intelligence agency, the Mossad. And I will try over the next 10 to 15 minutes to update you on the latest development in the war that Israel is waging against the Hamas in the Gaza Strip. As we speak, the IDF ground forces are engaged in a ground attack against the two last remaining strongholds of Hamas in the northeastern enclave, namely Jabalia and the Zaytun neighborhood, where some of the Hamas terrorists fled to after the attack was launched against them. And I guess that within a couple of days, once this mission is concluded, the IDF will be prepared towards the end of the week or maybe the beginning of next week to launch a full-scale attack on the southern part of the enclave, concentrated in the city of Khan Yunis, which is a hub for the Hamas military area, and also the birthplace of some of its leaders, including the lunatic and psychopath leader who actually supervised and controlled the attack on the kibbutzim and the villages along the border with Israel, namely, I refer to Yehia Sinwar. In the meantime, we are in an advanced situation of discussion with the help of the United States and some Arab countries such as Qatar and Egypt to try and secure the release of the first batch of hostages, namely or specifically women and children, in return for release of some women prisoners of Palestinian origin and a certain ceasefire that will last between 3 to 5 days. But it is clear to us that the issue of the hostages will remain the most important issue on our plate, on our agenda, as we continue our drive to eradicate Hamas from Gaza. In future, we will have to see who actually gains control and governs the Gazan Strip. It's clear that IDF will have to maintain presence there in order to make sure that Hamas doesn't make a comeback and build up again its terror activity against the settlements along the border. The IDF has fully recovered from the trauma and the failure of the 7th of October, and is conducting a very systematic and professional attack in a slow pace, slow manner, trying to make sure that there are not too many casualties among IDF soldiers, and also to try to avoid as much as possible civilian casualties among the population in Gaza as a result of the fact that Hamas is hiding and sheltering behind civilians. That's why we are trying to evacuate the population towards the south in order to enable us to act freely in that particular area. The IDF has started already to deal with the vast network of tunnels that Hamas has built underneath the whole of the Gaza Strip. It's a very complicated mission. There are a lot of terrorists who are hiding right now in the tunnels, and we believe that the hostages were also smuggled through the tunnels to the southern sector of the Gaza Strip. IDF is still searching and combing the several hospitals in the northern part of Gaza in order to find out exactly the command post and armament depots that Hamas has built underneath the hospitals. I know that there is a lot of criticism against Israel, but we must make sure that there are no hostages kept underneath those hospitals, and to make Hamas understand that there is no point in Gaza that we cannot reach. Simultaneously, there is a war going on also in the northern border with Hezbollah. Hezbollah has actually started a war against Israel following the Hamas invasion. They're shooting on daily basis anti-tank missiles at army posts, firing rockets at civilian settlements, trying to engage and keep Israeli forces in the north and lift some of the burden of Hamas. One must understand that neither Iran nor Hezbollah have an interest in a full-blown war against Israel right now, because they see what's going on in Gaza, the level of destruction, and they understand very well that the same destiny will happen to Hezbollah once we're done with Hamas. So there are several reasons why Hezbollah and Iran are not interested in a full-blown war with Israel, and they are happy to keep engaging us in such a war at this current level. The time is too short to go into the whole details and the reasons, but mainly we need to understand that Hezbollah is some kind of protective shield for Iran in order to deter Israel against attacking nuclear sites in Iran and or regime targets. Hezbollah has also some Lebanese consideration, because the rest of the Lebanese sections, like the Druze, the Sunnites, and the Christians, are totally against the war that Hezbollah has launched against Israel. And they have also to take care about the Shiite community that is deployed along the Israeli border in South Lebanon. So when time comes, Israel will have to deal also with the Hezbollah and push them back north of the Litani River in accordance with the resolution 1701 of the United Nations. Hezbollah has violated the resolution and infiltrated South Lebanon along the Israeli border in defiance of the United Nations resolution. And we have to push them back either by political means, applying pressure on them, or if needed by using military force. This might end up potentially also in a full-blown war against Hezbollah, which is the head of the snake, as we call it, in the axis of evil that Iran has built around Israel. While we're speaking, we must say also that Hamas has not yet surrounded its forces. We don't see a mass surrounded Hamas terrorists to the IDF. They're still fighting, and it seems that there will be no other way other than to kill them all if they continue fighting. As far as Israel is concerned, we are relying very much on the support and backing of Western liberal nations like Europe and the United States to back us up in this struggle against the extreme Hamas-Daesh organization that actually intends to destroy the state of Israel exactly like Hezbollah plans to do so. And we also rely upon all of you, Jewish communities around the world, to back us and help the brave and heroic Israeli soldiers who were wounded in this war. People left their homes. We're talking about reserve soldiers who left everything, families, business, in order to participate in this war. And the least they deserve is our attention and our help in order to rehabilitate their wounds and go back to normal life in the future. So I thank you in advance for the support and backing of our wounded soldiers. And this is exactly the goal of Restart. So thank you very much.
That was extremely interesting for me. I hope it was as interesting for you as well. Thank you, Naftali. That was incredibly insightful, and I think I personally learned a lot today, and I think we've all. Since 10/7 and the threat of Hamas rockets, we've been forced to pause our in-person programs for the safety of our wounded veterans. But we aren't letting the war stop us. We've transitioned to focus on providing immediate, direct support for our newest brothers and sisters. Today, we are actively supporting our newest wounded veterans while they are still in the hospitals and the rehabilitation centers. This starts with visits by our wounded veterans and our families to discover their needs, show our newest heroes and their inner circles that they are not alone. And as one hero told us just recently, you guys made me feel seen and showed me a bright, proactive future. And we are actively deploying our makers to the field to provide our tailor-made solutions for immediate needs, like the Anton crutch you can see in the photo here, and the Neve one-handed PlayStation controller. Both of these are products we've created in our Makers for Heroes last year. And this year we've had the honor of replicating them, not only for our usual group of wounded veterans, but also for the immediate needs of wounded veterans in the hospitals today. We're developing and setting the groundwork to accommodate as many Swords of Iron veterans as possible. But what's it like to go from being a healthy, active warrior to a wounded veteran? Dr. David Leitner, who has benefited from our Makers for Heroes program and now volunteers with Restart, is going to give us some insights into what these brave men and women are going through right now. So, David, thanks for joining us.
Very much, Boaz. So, my name is Dr. David Leitner. I'm a strategy and leadership expert and educator. I'm also a motivational speaker, and I've been a disabled veteran for over 20 years. In 1995, I came to Israel after finishing high school, and I was immediately in love with the country. I was certain I was never going to go back home, except I'd made a promise to my parents that I would finish 4 years of college. At the end of my first year of college, it was evidently clear that I was not going to be staying in America, and I made Aliyah. And at age 20, I came here alone. I didn't know what I was going to do at first, but I knew I needed to study Hebrew intensively. And then at some point, very soon after I made Aliyah, it was really clear to me that I was going to go into the army. But if I was going to go into the army, I wasn't going to just, go into the army. I wanted to be in one of the top units. And I was lucky enough to be inducted into the Maglan Commando Unit. I did basic training. I did jump school. I was in advanced training, and I got to go to sniper school. During my advanced training, we were doing a house-to-house combat exercise, and one of my officers said, "David, the heavy gunner has fallen down wounded. Go get him." The heavy gunner fell on his back and went, "Aye," as if he was hurt. And I ran, and I went to pick him up. And I jumped down, I pushed him onto my back. I started running, and I put my foot wrong on a rock or something. And all of a sudden there was a loud clack. My leg crumpled underneath me. I dropped him on his head. He started screaming at me, and my officer yelling, David, they're shooting at you. Get up. So what did I do? Of course, I rolled over, picked him up, stumbled over to the wall and put him down gently. He took my shoe off, looked at it and said, "Oh, it's just a sprain. He'll be fine, walk on it." Saw a doctor 5 days later. He said, "Oh, it's just a sprain. Take a few days off and then everything will be fine." I went on a 70-kilometer route march in the middle of winter, each foot feeling like 10 pounds of mud. And there was this shooting pain coming from my ankle up into my knee. A couple weeks later, I did the 90-kilometer route march where we get our red berets. I was so proud of myself. And then they sent me to sniper school. And I was in hog heaven. I was thrilled that I was going to be a sniper. I got back to my unit, and it was really clear I couldn't continue. I was taking 2 jumps on my left leg, barely putting my right foot on the ground, just to be able to keep running. So I left my team, and I was a lone sniper. And as a lone sniper during the Second Intifada, I found myself all over the country. I was in Gilo, I was in Ramallah, I was up north, I was down south. Constantly on my legs. I spent 11 months on a busted leg. I had surgery to try and repair my ankle. After the surgery, I came out with a cast from my toes up to my knee. Doctor said, "In 6 months, you're going to be running like a panther." Oh, my dream, I'm supposed to go to officer school. 3 months later, when they take the cast off, as they're sawing with the saw, and everyone tells me it's not supposed to hurt. You're not supposed to feel anything really. Maybe a tickle. It burns. This is intense burning feeling in my foot. And then the nurse comes over to pull out the stitches. And as she touches me for the first time to grab the stitch, it feels like someone's taken a burning needle and stabbed it into my ankle. I immediately start seeing black. I throw up all of the food that I ate onto the floor. The doctors are jumping up. What's going on? And the nurse is sitting there pulling these out one after the other. And it feels like someone's stabbing me again and again and again. The doctor looks at me and says, "Physical therapy, you'll be fine." 3 months later, I get back. I'm not fine. I can barely put my foot on the ground. He sends me to see a specialist. The specialist says, "Lie down." Sorry. The best specialist says, "Lie down." And he tells me to close my eyes. I close my eyes, and all of a sudden, It feels like someone's taken a blowtorch across the side of my foot. My eyes fly open. He takes one look at me and he says, David, you have something called complex regional pain syndrome. It's the worst known pain disorder to modern medicine. Excuse me? What does that even mean? Well, he says, there's a pain scale. And he starts going over some ideas. He says, people have headaches and lacerations or sprains like you had, maybe even toothaches, or they get a bruise that'll, last for a week or 3. He goes through a list of fractures and cancer and migraines and back pain. And he tells me, even women, when you're talking about childbirth, there's childbirth with an epidural, or there's childbirth without an epidural, something my wife has done twice, 3 times. She's described it as having a melon come out of your tush. Ow. But then he goes, but you, David, you've got CRPS. And it's at the very top. That means I live my life right there. And I said, well, what about the whole touchy pain thing? And he says, oh, that feeling of like an explosion every time that something touches you, like rain or when the wind blows or when you're putting on your socks. And I said, yeah. He says, that's called allodynia. And we don't have any way to solve it. Could this get any worse? Yeah, it can. You see, it spreads. Excuse me? It does what? It spreads. Okay. So I found myself facing a whole new reality. I'd like you to imagine for a minute. I was a lone soldier. I went back to my room alone. I mean, I had a kibbutz family and they're amazing people, but I was alone in my room. I didn't have anybody to help me. My parents weren't here to help. I couldn't do things on my own, like basic stuff. Shopping and taking a shower was difficult. I didn't have the proper medical equipment that I needed. Like the crutches I had were like third hand and rickety. I didn't have my normal support system of friends because they were all in the army. And my Hebrew, as good as it was military Hebrew. I was suddenly dealing with paperwork, reams and reams of it that I was supposed to sign and understand, and doctors who I was visiting and people I was meeting who were supposed to be trying to tell me how to become a disabled veteran and what that meant for me. And nobody from the army came to visit me. Nobody from my team. They didn't even know I'd had surgery. One day I decided I was going to jump from my bed to the bathroom because I didn't want to use the crutches. And in the bathroom, I guess my left foot got a little bit wet. And as I'm hopping back to my bed, I slip and my right foot smacks onto the ground. I find myself staring at the ceiling. I literally see black. My eyes are soaked from tears. I can't breathe. And I learned that there's a reason why CRPS has the nickname the suicide disease. I was this close. Dragged myself to my bed. I spent easily a day or 2 there. Didn't move. The doctor finally saw me again. He's like, David, you've got to start doing something. You can't just be going back to kibbutz. It's too bad. It's too much. And he suggested I start school. So I started university. And at university, when I got there in 2002, it wasn't handicapped accessible. So I took on a task for myself. I would become the handicapped accessible representative of the campus. I was going to make the campus accessible. And in that task, and in the therapy that I was doing at Beit Lochem, I was suddenly exposed to a world far beyond my own disability. I found that disability has many faces. Many, many faces. I finished my BA. The CRPS is spread up to my knee. I get married. I start my direct PhD. And everything seems to be okay for a little while. And then just as I'm finishing my PhD and my wife is 6 months pregnant, I start getting this feeling in my left leg. Now I've had 5 back surgeries during this time in an attempt to numb the pain. They put in a spinal cord stimulator. I had an epidural for a while. And about 3 months before my eldest boy is born, I suddenly wake up in the middle of the night. I'm sweating, drenched in sweat. I've thrown up on my sheets. I'm screaming. My wife jumps up. What's wrong? What's wrong? And it hurts. It hurts so bad. What, your foot? No, my left leg. What? She gently pulls the sheet off of my foot, off my left leg. And it's swollen. It's purple. It's green. It's gross. The CRPS has spread to my left leg. She rushes outside to get my wheelchair, comes back in, and I was facing a whole new reality all over again. I was now disabled anew. I had to learn how to be in a wheelchair. And I was just about to be a father. How was I going to do this? I spent 8 years trying to understand how to be a father in a wheelchair, learning that process almost on my own. Then in 2018, a friend of mine told me about Restart. Now, I live in a community where we play baseball, and my son desperately wanted to play catch with me. But I was terrified of the ball. I was scared to go outside in the rain. I was scared to go to a mall. I was terrified of a ball. My friend said, talk to Restart, see what they can do. So I went to Restart. I said, guys, listen, I need something to protect my legs. I want to play baseball with my son. I want to play catch. So we made an effort. First time around, we didn't succeed. We made a great shield. It was really solid. I even got hit while I was wearing it, but it didn't stay well on my chair. It was too big. It was too bulky. It was hard for me to do a pop a wheelie. It was difficult to open when I needed to because my legs will spasm. And then Corona hit. And I was afraid I was never going to get my shield until Neve called me. Neve was the head of Restart. And he says, David, Shield 2.0. And they connected me with Elbit. Elbit Systems did some amazing work. They used some of the most high-tech stuff to make 3D imaging of my legs and of my chair to figure out exactly where to put it. They used advanced carbon fiber to be able to create a shield that would not only attach easily, but open easily and be easy to take on and off. And 2 years ago, for the very first time, I had the opportunity to play ball with my son. And I was terrified because I was sure that I was going to get hit. But I didn't. So here's my question to you. Are you prepared to help IDF veterans get back on the track of life? Because that's what we need. Thank you very much.
Wow, David, every time I hear a story, you're an inspiration, my guy. So thank you for sharing your story and a little bit of an insight what it's like to face the transition from a dedicated, driven warrior to a disabled veteran. David and the rest of our volunteers are here and in the field to support and guide our heroes, but they need your help. Restart's purpose is to get our wounded soldiers back on the path of life, providing them each with the help they need, physical, mental, and social. We plan to provide direct aid to over 300 veterans like David this coming year, and we aim to double our impact yearly. To do that, though, we need to raise at least $10 million over the next 3 years. Your donations tonight and in the near future will provide immediate direct support for vital activities aiding wounded veterans. We've proven our impact in the past 8 years, and I think it's time to scale our work, and we need your help. In the immediate, your donations today will fund our setting up on-site Makers for Heroes stations in the hospitals, in the rehab centers. Each station like this costs $30,000 to deploy and $10,000 to run monthly. These stations also distribute relevant solutions to newly injured veterans which can cost upwards of $1,000 per unit, like the Anton Crutch adapter and the Neve PlayStation controller. We will also be increasing our mentorship programs in the near future to provide for the huge number of new veterans. These programs have a base cost of $3,000 per veteran. And lastly, because I don't want to make it too much, we want to expand our ability to create custom solutions through Restart's Makers for Heroes program. These solutions are not adaptations or existing solutions. These are completely new solutions to the unique challenges and dreams of wounded warriors. To run this program, we need at least $15,000 per wounded soldier who participates. David, now that I've explained what Restart does and why we need everyone's support, David, you and I are going to take a few minutes to address some questions. And if you still have any lingering questions, now is a great time to put them in the Q&A. David, why don't we start with some questions we get most often?
Okay. Well, one of the things that I've heard people ask is, how do you make this a long-term sustainability and provide, the long-term sustainability of solutions provided by Restart for their wounded veterans, especially considering like the ever-evolving nature of their needs?
Right. So I think in terms of sustainability of the solutions, and I think this is a good point, because a lot of the solutions we make need upkeep. The problems change a little bit. You as a wounded veteran adapt into the situation a little bit better. And so we constantly engage with our community of veterans to understand their evolving needs, and our partnerships with industry leaders and the ongoing research we do within Restart enables us to develop adaptable and scalable solutions. And we also have a feedback loop that allows us to update and refine our solutions based on real-time veteran feedback.
All right, I want to add to that if I could.
Yeah.
We also, as someone who's gone through the Makers program, one of the things that we find is that I've created an intimate relationship with the members of my team, and they're constantly in touch with me to ask, hey, David, what can we do to help? What else do you need? Is there something new that you need for your chair? I just got a new chair, and they're already talking with me about how do we make it good for this chair. It's slightly different. So I think that's also part of it.
Yeah, 100%. David, I think I'll ask you this, and I'm going to throw it out there because someone wrote it in the Q&A, and I think it's a very relevant question. So someone wrote, how many organizations are supporting the IDF and during this war?
Mm-hmm.
Some even help veterans. Why support Restart?
Okay, so while there are a lot of organizations out there supporting the IDF right now in general, and also supporting veterans, donating to Restart is inherently unique for two reasons. One, we are veterans. We have that connection. We have that ability to show new veterans what it's like to live the life of a disabled veteran, and help guide them in that process. We understand the complexities and the challenges that they face, even though each of us faces our own challenge. I think just as importantly is we do a really good job of connecting with a lot of different parts of Startup Nation. And Startup Nation is a resource of vast potential that we can leverage in order to provide really comprehensive, really tailored solutions that make a lasting impact. It's made a lasting impact on my life. So I see how this happens. And I think that while there are other organizations out there that provide some kind of support, I think that the overall support that Restart provides is very unique and very different.
Wow, great answer. We're going to end the Q&A here just out of everyone's time. So thank you, David.
Boaz, there's one more question. I think it's a good one. Can we just answer it?
Yeah.
Do you help wounded soldiers get jobs that fit their disabilities?
Great question. So yes, Restart has a few programs that deal with career development and personal development, our mentoring program, our careers program. We also help wounded veterans find jobs de facto, and we accompany them through that process in the first phases of of integrating into the company to make sure that it's a right fit, to make sure that they're connecting properly with their manager and putting up their boundaries and you know, signifying where their red flags are and where they need help and assistance. And I think overall I think 75% success rate in all job placements that we've done so far in Restart. And I think that is incredible, you know, on a regular scale. And it definitely, when we're talking about disabled veterans, definitely we're talking about a majority of them dealing with PTSD.
Great. Thanks, boss.
All right. So thank you everyone for your questions and enthusiasm. So 2 years ago, we were sitting with our good friend, Amit. Amit lost his arm in the Yom Kippur War, and he's really been an inspiration for many wounded veterans. But we were sitting with Amit and asked him, Amit, what do you wish to do that your injury doesn't allow you? And Amit immediately jumped up and said, Boaz, I haven't played the saxophone in 50 years. That would be a dream come true. So we put our heads and our partners together, and we made that dream come true for Amit. So I'd like you all to join me, stand up and join me and Amit in singing Hatikva. Support means the world to us. Whether through the QR code that's on the screen right now or through the email that we'll send you shortly, your donations will really help us guide wounded veterans toward a proactive lives. I will be also in the East Coast for Hanukkah, and I would love to meet any of you or people you think I should meet during that time. Love to come light a candle with you guys and have some hamitashe, some sufganiot, wrong holiday. So feel free to contact me at Boaz, B-O-A-Z, at restartglobal.org for any further information or connections. There's some more information on the screen. Thank you all for being here today. Have a great week. Happy Sunday. Am Yisrael Chai.